story. As Ahmad climbed up the bodybuilding ranks, it sure wasn't long until he began rubbing shoulders with his teenage icons.
You've got Arnold Schwarzenegger. What was it like meeting with Arnie?
First time I met him, I was, I freaked out a bit because this is Terminator. I remember.
Hasta la vista, baby.
It was good. It was a good experience. It was great. It was what I wanted at the time. You got it.
Comp after comp, trophy after trophy, it was a sensation he couldn't get enough of. But as he gradually worked his way to the top of the industry, a new peak began to emerge on the horizon.
And I remember, the day I got my pro card and I became a professional bodybuilder. I rang my wife. I said to my wife, put the pies in the oven. I'm coming home. I said, that's it. I've accomplished that goal. I did it. That's all I ever wanted to was be able to do it. And I had no more passion for jumping on stage. It kind of just came out of me. And I thought, it's time to move on to something else now. And thus, that's where I started thinking, I'm pretty artistic. I'm pretty good at putting things together. So I started to help people build gyms. And I did some of that in Dubai. And I started doing my own gyms. And it just grew from there.
The Aussie Mammoth was able to turn his buzz into a business and landed deals across the Arab world with the sheikhs and the princes. The money started coming in fast, and Ahmad was enjoying it.
This is a 458. This car is basically like a collector's car now. They don't make them anymore. So they're the last of the naturally aspirated engines.
But it wasn't just the fast cars.
This is also a pilot's logbook. We're talking about planes now. Have you owned a plane? Have you owned your own plane?
Yeah, planes are cheaper than cars.
Really?
Did I ask you?
What kind of Ferraris, obviously? But
yeah, like Cessnas,
Clearly, this conversation was kind of out of my league. But anyways, you get the point. He was living it. Yet amidst all the glory and worldly success, his inner child began screaming out to him.
Because I was in Pakistan when I was younger, doing Quran and Deen, felt I wasn't giving that what it should. And I thought to myself, we're Muslim, well, thank God we'll have a little bit more to think about. That's where it started to open the way that, I don't think this is not as glamorous as it looks on the outside.
Things were just not right, and it lingered with him everywhere he went.
When I was in the bodybuilding game, I was known as the backstage man. So I would prep all the competitors. And obviously it was mixed, men and women. And the women aren't wearing abayat. And they're calling you, Ahmed, can you come put my number on? And some of them in there have got half their clothes off. And you're going in there calling such and such to the front, such. And subhanAllah, when I did that work, that was the lowest point of my life, because I would always look at the time and I'd say, it's time to pray. I would have to go find a room to pray. And I'd sit there and go, Ya Allah, take this love of this game for me out of my heart. Wallah. Allah, I used to ask Allah, as much as I love bodybuilding and the sport, don't make it a love for me anymore. I love training, but don't make this aspect of it that I've been doing for 20 years part of my life anymore.
It was a prayer that would soon come into fruition, but in a manner he never expected. He was hit with a kidney failure that left him hospitalized, bedridden, and in a severe state of denial.
The doctors would tell me, your kidneys aren't looking good. And I say, yeah. You know what I did today? I just bench pressed 200 kilos. I just did this, I did that. That was my attitude. And then subhanAllah, when it all came down and it all crumbled, it all collapsed, I started dialysis. And when dialysis started, I said to them, I don't want to do this dialysis anymore. They said, you'll be dead. I said, we're all going to die. That was the exact word said. I said, we're all going to die. Like, they said, I will give you 4 weeks. I said, for what? They said, 4 weeks you'll survive. And wallah, when he said that, it just resonated in my head. I said, 4 weeks? I won't see my wife and kids, and I was just looking at death.
Yet as traumatic as the episode was, it was the opening to his transformation.
Humans, when we go to our lowest point in life, we always turn back to Allah. SubhanAllah, when I did get a kidney, alhamdulillah, and I did be blessed by a brother, may Allah reward him and grant him the highest of paradise, donated the kidney to me, that I got a chance to live again. And I said, when that happens, I will never turn back to that life again. I will never go back to what I was doing before. If it wasn't for the sake of Allah, or for benefiting our community, or for benefiting my akhirah, I don't want anything to do with it. And that's what kind of drew me back into going harder in what I do. And this is where I am today.
It was the exact moment the Aussie Mammoth became the Muslim Undertaker.
I do not think that.
I'm sorry, but yeah. He turned his back on the bodybuilding industry and returned back to his roots, back to where it all began as a teenage boy finding fulfillment in the cemetery. But this time, it wasn't only the graveyard, but the washing room.
All right, my brother, this is the room here. This is called the washing room. This shroud comes in 100-meter rolls.
This is your final gown.
Where's your wardrobe now? Where's the labels? Where's the designer names that you sacrificed so hard to buy? They're all back at home in your wardrobe. This is what you're going to wear. The sadar, the lotus, this is like bark crushed, which makes soap. Okay, this is camphor. Smell that. They call it the smell of death.
Oh man, that's scary.
Yeah.
Just like it's haunting.
And this is what's put on the second wash in the water to preserve the body.
It was clear that Ahmad had a deep understanding of the funeral world, a knowledge he's primarily inherited from his teachers.
I used to assist the guy washing all the time, the old man, that Hamu, Haj Abu Nabil Atar. And he taught me how to wash, you know. He rocked up one day when I was washing a young guy, out of nowhere, the old guy. He got a chair and he placed it right in front of the washing table. And he said, Ballish, start. I made a dua, Rabbi Shrah li sadri, yassir li amri. And I said, Ahmed, you got this, Allah's with you, just do what you do. And I started washing. I finished the wash. He got up, he said, come. He put his hand on my leg, in his hand. He said, I'm happy now. If I pass away, you can wash me. He got up and he walked off. And I looked at him at the window as he was walking off. And one of the people said to me, he's coming back. I said, no, he came to say goodbye. 10 days later, I was washing him.
Yeah, Allah.
He was probably one of the hardest washers. The hardest part was when I stand on the head and I put the soap and I clean the body, the face, and I did it on him. It was exactly the way he taught me how to do it. And when I did it on him, I broke down because I just said, this is what he taught me how to do. Allah yarhamu, subhanallah.
It's a position Ahmad has upheld with great diligence, and a role that has given him access to some of the deepest secrets and stories our community holds.
This cover here, brothers, it's got the New Zealand feather on it and that. This was a brother, New Zealander brother, came a couple of weeks ago, passed away, died at home, and he was sick for a little while, 9 months or a year. He was covered in this when we brought him here. When we washed him, no one knew anything about this guy. The boys around me said, Allah Akbar, look, he's smiling. Look how easy. Later on, I asked his 2 children about this man. I love to know. They said he donated his land for a masjid.
Yeah, Allah.
And then I said, subhanallah, look at how it leads to how the ending is, Allahu Akbar. And you ask, man, he was always in the remembrance of Allah. He never bothered anyone. He didn't talk about anyone. And these are the things you hear about people speaking.
And New Zealand is perhaps not even a born Muslim. Perhaps he was a convert.
That 100%, yeah.
Subhan.
But it wasn't just the good secrets Ahmad was keeping.
We had a lady once who we picked up from the coroner. And I thought to myself, how did this lady end up in the coroner, which is old? And I thought, he hasn't got family, man. It must be no family. At the funeral, a lot of family showed up. So I went to one of the guys I knew who kind of knows the family. I said, oh, well, what's the go with her? What'd she go to the coroner for? He said, the kids don't speak to their mum. I said, they don't speak to their mum. He goes, I'll tell you something even better. They live in the same street as them too. I said, so their mum died, and she died for a few days before that's why she went to the coroner. Well, her kids live in the street, and because of a grudge, because of something maybe they didn't agree on with their mum, they'll talk to their mum. And the regret on their faces, couldn't even explain it. Allah Akbar, you know, it's sad. These stories are sad because the general world doesn't hear about it.
It was a piece of the world most people would ignore, but to Ahmad, it was every day. And the life that so many of us run towards was the life Ahmad was running away from.
Throughout your life, you've driven some pretty prestigious vehicles, and then now all we ever see you is in that funeral hearse.
And I know it's my comfort zone. I take care of that car more than I take care of anything else. For me personally, to sit in that after a funeral, it's disgusting. It feels like, you know, you've gone from a realistic place, being the cemetery, the grave, the washroom, to something that's illusioned. But I don't even pay attention to it. SubhanAllah, it just sits here only for the reason that it's just kind of storage. It's
If
something.
you don't need it, I'm happy to keep it with you.
Look, you can't blame me for trying. But anyways, after Ahmad had embraced his role as an Undertaker, the buzz began to build once more. Only this time, the stage wasn't a bodybuilding competition, but social media platforms across the world. He holds a level of experience that is unparalleled.
How many of these graves would you say you've buried?
The old section, about 90% of them.
90% of the graves.
Yeah, I would say I've done thousands.
Thousands.
Yeah.
Today, he's considered one of the leading experts in the field, and his advice is regularly sought after.
A brother called me. He said, brother, I have a cemetery I want you to dig. I said, you have a cemetery? Where? I'm like, I know that all. He goes, in Riverstone. I said, where the hell is Riverstone? So I drove up there on a Sunday, took the family in the forward drive for a drive. It's a long drive till I got the cattle and farms, and then I see this cordon fence, and it was this old cemetery, bro, old. And I see this Pakistani or Bangladeshi man standing there, and mashallah, Allah nur coming out of him. I said to him, Assalamualaikum, brother, I'm Ahmad Hraichie, what can I do for you? Oh, brother, I worked for so many years back and forth with Blacktown Council to secure this cemetery for the Muslims. I want all our Muslims around the Blacktown and these areas to have somewhere to be buried. I said to him, brother, where are we going to start from? He said, brother, we start from the tree. And there was a tree there. He said, yeah, brother, just start right where the tree is. A couple of weeks later, I get a phone call. Brother Ahmad Hraichie, yes, can you dig at Riverstone? I said, where's Brother Khan? His name was Muhammad Khan. He said, the funeral is for Muhammad Khan. La ilaha illallah. He was 61 years old. I buried him in the grave right near the tree, the first grave there. And I will never forget this guy because he worked so hard to get this cemetery that he was going to be buried in at first. Unbelievable, subhanAllah.
It was so much effort and he was rewarded. He was the first one to benefit from his own.
His sadaqah came for him. He's buried in it, you know. Allahu Akbar. That's a story I'll never forget, man.